Thank you, everybody. Thank you. It was a good drive, if I don't say so. Yes, thank you. And where's Pierre? What do you mean he's not coming? Why not? His trophy is on display. It's in the back there. Well, his win wasn't as good as mine. Hey guys, I'm Aussie Villain and welcome back to Aussie Villain Racing. It is round 11 of our 16-round championship. Today we are in Russia for the Russian Grand Prix, and after my magnificent win, if I don't say so myself, in Italy, the undercut proving very, very powerful, we are trying to go, well, back-to-back wins for me, a three-peat for the team. Of course, Pierre Gasly winning the race before that in, what was the one before that? Was it Austria? Hungary? It was one of the, oh, Zandvoort, wasn't it? Of course it was Zandvoort. Yeah, 3 in a row. Could we do it today? Let's have a look and see what we can do in the meantime between the two races here. We've got a chassis department focus, weight training for Gasly, which will increase his pace and focus. I mean, I think that's something we want to do. Driver promo fielding. We've got a vehicle PR filming, which will be decent for team, what's the word I'm looking for? Acclaim and, okay, I mean, cash isn't that much of a deal for us. What if a team building... Okay, so what if we do the PR thing, and then as an apology for making the team do that, we go on a team building exercise, and then we head off to Russia. Sounds like it makes sense, doesn't it? Let's go and have a look at facilities. Now we have 3 million in the bank, which isn't enough to do anything here, so we would... Marketing's really expensive, isn't it, to upgrade for some reason? Yeah, it is. So we can't do anything on that front. R&D. Now, we have a few things doing in the works. We do coming through, so but that should all be here in time. Or one of them wasn't going to be in time for this one, was it? But anyway, we've got 2,800 R&D points to play with. Now, chassis is maxed out. We can't do anything there. Okay, so sorry, aerodynamics is maxed out. Chassis, we have reinforced hydraulic lines, which is just a minor upgrade for improved braking performance. So let's not commit to that. We've got hydraulics, which is a massive upgrade. So that is better weight distribution. I mean, it's difficult to say no to such a big step forward, isn't it? If we go and have a look here at weight reduction, and that is a nose cone. Again, it's a massive step forward. So that's possibly something we want to do, and we're already doing the suspension geometry. If we go across to powertrain, there's nothing we can do here immediately, is there? No, it's all locked. And then durability, again, it looks like there's nothing we can actually do at this point in time, so that makes it an easy decision, doesn't it? We go back to the chassis. I think we've got to go and have a look at the hydraulics, which was a huge upgrade, so let's do that. That'll be not in time for Russia, but for the US race after that. That gives us, look at the step forward that is. And then if we, what do we need to get this nose cone? That was 1,300. We should get 1,300 points for through the next race, so let's maybe go and do this minor upgrade. That will come in just after Russia, so there'll be 2 things coming in for the US Grand Prix, assuming everything goes through, obviously. And the progress history, we have kicked well and truly clear of the rest of the field. AlphaTauri look like they've leveled out a little bit, but McLaren and Mercedes, they're still trending upwards as well, aren't they? And Haas, all the way at the bottom there, is moving up as well. Vehicle side of things, now we did put everything fresh in for Monza, more or less everything anyway, so that's all looking absolutely fine in terms of where. The gearbox, I think... Oh, wrong button. I think we are eligible for a new gearbox. Yes, we are. So we'll go and do that. And also something else there. Nice tyre allocation, which we can't change anyway. Sponsors, nothing is changing on that front. Driver contracts. We've got Gasly. Look at that focus for Gasly. That is good, and that's going to improve again with that thing that we've done for him. So that's all huge. We've got finances here. We haven't got any additional costs. The finances, we start building them back up. We've got to make sure we have that 10 million ready for Gasly at the end of the season. Now, the thing, of course, with having a shorter season is that there's less money around, so we've got to just be a little bit careful in terms of spending on upgrades. I don't know that we'll spend anything else the rest of the season, to be honest, because I really want to make sure that we're able to keep Gasly for next. I'm assuming you guys are on board with me on that. We want to keep Gasly as our teammate because he's done wonderful this season, I think. And you can see we are third in the constructors. We're fourth and fifth in the drivers. And I mean, we're not a mile off Bottas at the top of the championship. Certainly Gasly's closer than I am, so it's not inconceivable that one of us could win the drivers, or more likely Gasly. But if we look at the constructors, we are only 19 points back of Mercedes, so that could actually be on for us this season. We can see here the remaining races. So after Russia, we've got US, Mexico, and Australia, where I think I've done okay. Not so much US, but Mexico and Australia I've done okay in the past. Saudi Arabia is just that we don't know what's going to happen there. In the UAE, I've struggled there in the past. So that could be a bit of an iffy one. Let's have a look here and see what we've done at Sochi in the past. We have last season, sort of middle of the second row there, we came 9th. Something happened last year, I think, didn't it? And before that, we came 6th. And that 6th finish at the time was a really, I remember, was one of my highlights of the game. I really enjoyed that race. The rivalry with Bottas, as we've known for a little while now, is done. I had to pick the World Championship leader, didn't I? And in terms of the driver details, we've had 2 pole positions, 3 podium finishes, 2 wins, 191 points. We could break the 200-point barrier this race. Average finish of 11th, average grid of 13th, and 3 fastest laps as well. So let's go and start simming ahead now. Hopefully everything's going to go to plan. There's Gasly's weight training. We've done our PR filming. And we have upgraded the powertrain thing to Spec 3. Everything seems to have gone to plan. So let's head off to Russia. Okay, so we've got a Sochi track map there. The weather forecast is, oh dear, so qualifying, it's starting dry, getting progressively wet, and by the end of Q3 it's going to be raining, isn't it? 81% chance. The race, more or less, it looks like it's going to be dry. Development update even, we can see that there. We are so coming into Russia, it looks like Mercedes have taken a big step forward, and McLaren have got a little bit closer to us as well, have they perhaps? So yeah, expect Mercedes and Bottas, therefore, to be quite good. And the powertrain department seem absolutely delighted with the upgrades we've made there. Okay, so that's the upgrade to the factory, not necessarily to the actual power unit itself. So I'm going to do some free practice, and we're going to have to do qualifying, even if it is going to be wet, in a dry setup, because the race is going to be dry, so that'll be interesting. But anyway, I'll see you for qualifying. Alright, well, free practice went incredibly well. FP2 and 3, Gasly and I were first and second. He topped FP2, I topped FP3. And FP3, we were half a second ahead of everybody else. So the car around here works. It's a massive shame it's going to rain in qualifying, because that could throw a spanner in the works that we don't need. But let's get to it and see if we can maybe get an all Aussie Villain Racing front row. Okay, we are coming around to start the lap, and you may notice there are drops of rain, which is not what we need. This is a massive, massive pressure lap. We may not get a second crack at this before the track gets wet, and therefore, you know, you're not going to be able to beat anybody's time on dry tyres. So, given how superior... Oh, we've already lost a little bit of grip in there. Given how superior our car is, we will just be taking it a little bit more cautiously, and just trying to make sure that this lap is good enough, but of course I don't want to go too cautious and then not be fast enough. I can tell you there is already a lot less grip than there was in free practice when it was actually fully dry. Oh, Jesus. Maybe not the best idea to be on the AstroTurf when it's getting damp. Really difficult, this off-camber. You can see wet patches on the track there as well. This rain is coming, and it is coming fast. And if this lap isn't good enough, then we're going to be done, no matter how fast we are in the dry. P9. That should be enough. No one's going faster, surely. So it was enough to get through, and we just about got through. And Gasly, look at that. He had to go on intermediates. Luckily for him, not everybody got a dry lap in. So some big names. Both Ferraris are out. AlphaTauri, Alpine, Aston Martin, and of course Mazepin is last, even though Mick Schumacher got through in the top 10. So it looks like it's going to be intermediates for the next session. And, well, let's see if we can get into the top 10. Okay, so with absolutely no running in the wet and with a dry setup, let's qualify. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah. It'll probably take more than one go. Assuming, of course, I don't stick it in a wall in the meantime. It actually is. It feels like there's more grip this lap than there was last lap when it was a little bit damp on those slick tyres. My general rule is a geared lower than what it would be in the dry. So we'll see if that holds true here. No idea if this is anywhere near good enough, if I need to be faster. Well, that's not great, but we'll go with it. I missed what that fastest time was. Sonoda's done a 1:44. Really rolled it in there. No idea where to brake in the wet, of course. So P4, almost a second off though. We might go again. Gasly with a 1:43. At least this time we have a delta too to see roughly how we're doing.
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
And we are quite a ways up. And a purple first sector as well. Now what we might have is an issue here is that Guan Yu Zhou in front of us in the Alfa Romeo. Or he's in the Alfa Romeo, isn't he? Second time around, of course, I've got a little bit more knowledge of what we can do, where we can brake, which is helping. Get a little bit of a draft, and if Guan Yu Zhou can finally pull out of the way at the end of this straight, that'll be perfect, but it doesn't look like he's going to do that, does he? Of course, Zhou is going to have a nosebleed. He's going to be so far up the grid, having got through Q1. That rain is really starting to come down now as well. We've done 2 purple sectors here. Zhou is coming into the pit, so that helps us. A little bit hesitant on the brakes there. And what do? P4. Well, thankfully, that's okay because we've gotten through anyway. No one went any faster. So we are into Q3. We've just got to try and get as far up this grid now as we can and then wait for the dry. But Gasly, if he's on pole, he could be tough to run down. Okay, we're coming around for what is actually going to be our second attempt. Now, we've had some technical issues at Aussie Villain headquarters. So I've had a little bit of a break, which is not ideal preparation, obviously, for Q2, and we've only got 4 minutes, so probably 2 laps. Maybe 3. I don't know if we have enough petrol for 3, though. So we're currently last, as you would expect, having not yet done a lap. I had to do a mid-session save, and obviously you can't get that time back, unfortunately. Again, just a little bit of understeer into that first corner. Don't quite have the confidence to go flat through here in the wet. Let's try to get a good run out of this corner. I think I'll kind of be using this lap as a bit of a banker lap, and then we can go forward a little bit more on the second lap sort of push the limits a little bit more. What I'd like to do ideally, I just want to get as high up the grid as I can. Like I say, we have a fast car in the dry. There's some nice long straights. We should be able to use our car, its strength to overtake. But obviously the least amount of overtaking we have to do, the better, given that I expect Pierre Gasly is going to stick this on the front row. Could we be on for another undercut maybe? Let's focus on qualifying first though, perhaps. Turned in too late there, haven't I? It feels like it's impossibly slow that I'm going, but I don't know that I can go too much faster. Right, let's see what sort of damage we've done there. Oh dear.
Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay, please.
Well, the good news is we're not 10th. The bad news is we're 9th and Gasly is on pole. So, yeah, well, we've got a race in front of us. It's going to be dry. We can start on whatever tyre we want. Have to have a think about how we want to approach this and how do we run down someone in the same car that's starting 8 positions ahead of us.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. A fantastic effort from Pierre Gasly yesterday puts him on pole, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas and Verstappen, Perez, Tsunoda, Oldtimer and Antonio Giovinazzi, Fernando Alonso, Russell and Guan Yu Zhou and Latifi, Schwartzman, Mick Schumacher, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, Stroll, Ocon, Lundgaard and Nikita Mazepin. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Alright, so I've come to the conclusion that I'm not going to win the Drivers' Championship this year. We want to try and do as well as we can in the Constructors, and to do that, I think we need to try and help Pierre Gasly. Now, the engineers want me to start on mediums. I'm thinking I don't want to do that. I'm thinking I want to start on softs. Edit strategy. I think I want to start on softs, go to mediums as late as possible, and but I'd love to do soft, but I don't think I can do that. Do we want to hit earlier or later? Yeah, well, let's just do this. Let's go for lap 7. We'll go as far as we can on the soft, switch to the mediums, and, you know, ultimately we want to try and get ahead of the McLarens, the Mercedes, and the Red Bulls, and just hope Pierre drives off into the distance, I suppose. Okay, here we go. Pierre Gasly looking good on pole there, isn't he? The 2 McLarens behind him. Disappointing long hold, disappointing qualifying session for us. Now what we want to try and do here is get ourselves not sandwiched, as we're in the middle of 3 cars, and we've got Tsunoda on the inside. Thankfully, Perez gave us enough room. And now let's see if Tsunoda on the inside. Let's back off, try and follow the Kamikaze Tsunoda, as I think he is affectionately known as, and we end up a little bit of a collision with Perez, but we get ourselves through there in 8th and no damage to the car. So that is about as good as you can hope for, really, isn't it? And it looks like Giovinazzi behind us. I wonder if Perez picked up a little bit of damage off of our front wheels there. But we'll settle ourselves in here, and you know, what we don't want to do is let this group in front of us get too far away. Gasly and I were just dominant in free practice, and it looks like Pierre Gasly has actually lost first place off the line. Look at that, he's down in 2nd with Norris in the lead. So if we can just stay with this lead group, and hopefully we should be able to pick them off one by one, if not down the front straight, then certainly down this back straight, especially once DRS is open. Tsunoda not quite close enough there for a lunge, so we'll be sensible on lap 1 and just stay in the queue. As long as Tsunoda is staying in that queue, then it's not too desperate to try and get past him. What we could look to do, of course, is maybe a Monza-style undercut. But obviously it's too early to be thinking about that. That was one of the main reasons why I wanted to start on the soft tyre. I just thought it would give us a bit more options as well. If there happened to be a safety car on the first lap, which isn't unheard of at Sochi, then we could have come in and put the medium tyres on and looked to just do the whole race on the mediums, which we should be able to do. It'll be a little bit sketchy towards the end, but I think we're fast enough in the straights that we would be able to get away with that. And alternatively, it just, you know, opens up options to undercut and things like that. Whereas if we're on the medium tyres, it certainly limits what we can do on that front. But again, Tsunoda is within a second. Purple first sector. Go on. We just need to try and stay in that DRS train. And yeah, if Tsunoda is looking as though he is losing a little bit to Verstappen in front of him, doesn't he, this lap? There is just maybe a little bit of a gap opening up, but let's see if we can stay close, get a good exit out of here, use the battery, and are we going to be close enough to put a move on? It was very tempting last lap. I definitely backed out of it earlier. See if we fade to the inside. Can we getting down the outside here? Becomes the inside. A little bit late, but we get the job done. And if we go and have another look at this off-board, it looks a little bit, and you can see here, a little bit less sketchy did on board. We were far enough up alongside him, I should say, with the racing line, and then just sort of pinch him to the apex of the next corner, and he had no real choice other than to back out of it. But we have lost a little bit of ground there to Verstappen now in the lead train. Gasly still in second, and he has lost a little bit of time there to Norris. Look at that, he's outside the DRS zone. DRS range, I should say, and the DRS zone is opened up for this lap. So we just want to make sure that we're not going to... I think the detection point is after the start-finish line, so I'm not sure if Tsunoda does have DRS this lap. So we just want to be a little bit careful of that, but we're far enough in front, and then behind Tsunoda, Giovinazzi, who has got a nosebleed up there in ninth, has fallen off the back of him. But we can see... What have we got? The gap of 2 seconds to Verstappen in that lead train. Just need to try and chip away at that, and I think if we can get within the DRS zone coming into the pit stop, then on the medium tyres where there's less grip available for traction, then we might have a little bit more of a chance of picking them off down that front straight. But whilst they all have DRS, they're going to be pulling each other along a little bit, and we don't quite have that same ability. If you can see through there, I'm not quite timing my turn-ins. I think some of that might just be the heavy car. Again, a purple middle sector this time. Again, it's a little bit too close to the inside of the curb. Not quite nailing the laps, but it's definitely clogged up at the front there, isn't it? I'm not sure if there's been a little bit of a go at position change. Maybe that explains why it's banked up quite so much. Norris set the fastest lap. The gap is what, 1.8 seconds, 1.9 seconds, so he only took a tenth out of them, which again is not ideal. But I don't think it was my smoothest lap either. You can see Tsunoda behind. He's 0.8 of a second back. I would imagine by the time we get to another DRS zone, we will have dropped him. And Perez looks like he's gotten past Giovinazzi as well. So it'll be interesting to see if Perez comes back at us. The fact he didn't stop makes me think that we didn't actually would certainly damage his wing anyway. I guess we could have damaged his floor. But again, not our problem. Our car is absolutely fine. So we've done a green first sector. I mean, one thing we could look to do as well, and maybe on the soft tyres, so they're not that badly worn, we could look to sort of put in a fastest lap and try and bank that bonus point early on relatively good soft tyres. But of course the fuel load's going to hurt us a little bit on that front. And I think we probably need a DRS lap as well.
Gap to car in front is 1.6 seconds.
So only a red middle sector, but of course last lap we did a purple, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just that we didn't go purple again, but we jumped back off board. You see Tsunoda is hanging on, isn't he?
We might have an issue. Hang in there. We're attempting to manage it.
So potentially an issue. Now we've got a brand new engine and everything that we put in for Monza. So they've only done one race, so should be okay. I don't know what the issue is yet. Hopefully it's going to be maybe DRS related. The gearbox is relatively new, so I mean everything should be okay for, or it is okay for wear. Hopefully it's not anything going to be too serious.
It looks critical. Find somewhere to retire as soon as possible. We can't risk you carrying on with this race. Again, find somewhere safe to stop. We need you to retire.
A show-stopping performance from the three drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Toto, what the hell, man? I pay you good money for those Mercedes engines, and I expect them to last a little bit longer than one race. Well, I don't see Bottas or Hamilton's engines blowing up. Well, that was disappointing, wasn't it? I mean, Gasly's won. That's 3 in a row for the team. That is fantastic. Unfortunately for us, McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull pretty much lined up behind them, didn't they? So, you know, the 6 or 7, 8 points I could have got. I don't know how high up I could have finished, if I'm completely honest. We weren't sort of catching the cars in front hand over fist, but we were catching them. So I think we maybe, if on a good day, could have got ourselves 4th, 5th, maybe 3rd. You know, you look at the finishing times there. Certainly the gap between Ricciardo and Hamilton, 3rd, 4th, and 5th was not much. So I think we probably would have been in that battle. But yeah, it's just all a massive, massive shame, unfortunately. Have a look at the standings, and Gasly suddenly is, well, he is in championship contention, isn't he? I have well and truly fallen out of that now, down there in 7th. That was a very poorly timed mechanical failure, wasn't it? And we've actually dropped down a position into 4th, and again, they say 6 points is what we had. So you add those 6 points onto us, and we're joint 2nd, 9 points back in Mercedes. So, and I certainly don't think we're going to go backwards. So that's a bummer. That's a real pain in the backside. But anyway, well done to Pierre. So there we go. The rivalry with Bottas. I mean, that turned into a bit of a whitewash, didn't it? If you've enjoyed that, make sure you hit thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, all that usual stuff. Rivalry lost. There we go. We'll have a new rival for next race, which of course is in the US. And my acclaim has gone backwards while Gasly's goes up. Brilliant. Yeah. So that's going to be the next race. I think we've officially become Pierre Gasly's support crew when it comes to him challenging for a driver's title, and we're still in the constructors' race. You know, him winning really did sort of turn that around a little bit for us. But that's all for next time. The US, and we know that I've not done particularly well there in the past. Hopefully that'll change next time. Take care.